Hello everyone. The purpose of this video is to practice with interpreting graphs or situations. So if you just have the graph, then just looking at the axis should be able to tell you a pretty good amount of things from it. So the title is about a ball dropping, and then we can see that the graph is going downwards. So if you read the y-axis, you can already know that the ball is going to go down. The ball is falling, and if you look at where the graph starts, it's starting at 80, and we're talking about a ball falling, and then you can put those two ideas together to say that the ball is falling from 80 feet high. And we should change the B to be capital. Since it's starting from 80 feet, and since the feet are the y-axis, that means that this right here is actually the y-intercept. Let's look down here. We have the number 3.6, and there's all of these negative numbers below 3.6, comma 0, but none of them are included. So what that means is that the ball is finishing its drop there. So that is the time that the ball is done dropping. And that's actually the x-intercept. Alright, so that's just one of the examples of if we give you the graph. The y-intercept can tell you when the story starts. The x-intercept can tell you something else important about the story. Let's look at a couple more examples. We'll just do like two. This one's called somebody's car trip. So if we're going to have a graph about a car trip, they're either going to be going somewhere, and in that case, their distance would normally be increasing, but we can see that her graph is decreasing, so that means that she is coming home. She's getting closer to something else, most likely. And if we interpret our scale, you can see that the highest number is 150, two spaces lower than that is 120, so you need to find out what's halfway between 150 and 120. Well, all of this distance is a 30, and half of 30 would be a 15, so 120 plus 15 is 135. That means that this 0 for x goes with 135 for y. If we look at the units for y, it's miles, so we can know that the story, the interpretation of the story is Jen started her drive or her trip from 135 miles from home. The x-axis is measuring time. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. Each box is 1 hour. The dot is at 3 hours. Jen got home after 3 hours. I know a lot of times you just want to say the x-intercept is 3 because this was the x-intercept. But it's not useful to just tell somebody the answer is 3. What is useful is to be able to explain to them what that number actually means. Okay. Pause the video right here. Write this down on your own piece of paper, the answer to these questions on the right side. What does the title mean? What's the scale? How much is the y's counting by? How much are the x's counting by? And the labels, I don't really care about that. But tell me, when did the story begin, and what's the x-intercept, and interpret it. Pause the video. The title tells you that James is saving money. The scale of the y-axis tells you that he's counting by hundreds, or 200s. Yeah, 200s. Counting dollars by 200s. When does the story begin? I'd say that dot is higher than halfway, but not very much higher. So maybe like $310. I'd say that James starts his savings account with $310. The x-intercept, well, here's the x-axis, and the line does not go backwards, so I would say that there is no x-intercept, or it does not apply. A way that he could have an x-intercept in the future is if he spent all of his money, like let's say he lost his job and he had to use his savings account, then he might end up having a savings account in the future, but right now he doesn't. I just remembered that there is one more thing that we should know about our graphs, and that is how to write the equation for them. So let's just go ahead and label this point. This was 0, 310. This one up here looks like it's, this number is 15. So we'll say 14.25, and the y is 700. So let's go ahead and find the slope. The first part of writing an equation is to find the slope. 700 minus 310 over 14.25 minus 0. That'll be 390 over 14.25. I'll go ahead and use a calculator. And that slope is 21.75. Y equals 21.75x plus the y-intercept, which is 310. What this means is that he is saving $21.75 every month. And that would be how you interpret the slope. And he started with that $310.